We know now that Mark Zuckerberg had dinner at the White House, and we found that out because he said, considering how important it is, how much scrutiny we're under, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be eating with Donald Trump. I'm kidding, news reports had to release it because they didn't want to say, and it wasn't released by the White House. It was totally secretive and incredibly important considering the stakes with Facebook deciding that they are going to stand apart from many other platforms by allowing paid ads with things they know are lies. They're gonna be profiting off those lies. Now, with this dinner being so important, personal one-on-one time between Zuckerberg and Trump, very interesting to know what it is that they actually talked about. So let's get into a little bit of a video of him being interviewed talking about that dinner.
You were in DC recently. It was reported later that you had dinner with the president of the White House. What was the nature of the meeting? Can you say?
Sure. I mean, we talked about a number of things that were on his mind, and some of the topics that you'd read about in the news around our work.
So effectively, yeah, we talked about topics and things, and also stuff.
Like, how did you not know that this was gonna be a question that was asked of you? It's amazing how bad he is at this, even though he's been in this role for quite a long time. I did see The Social Network.
That's true, and that was a long time ago, like 10 years ago. But no, he's a robot, he's not a human. He can't do like off the cuff, like just being a person and understanding. Do you get why we would be really concerned about you having dinner with him, considering how he's exploited your platform in the past, how you're continuing to let him exploit it in the present? The huge amount of focus has been put on you thanks to people like AOC, also Sacha Baron Cohen recently. Like, that's a big deal. Maybe think about it a bit before your big interview.
Yeah, and look, I mean, clearly he had corporate talking points prepared, but he was not prepared for that very thing. I mean, news reports had come out beforehand. It's not like Gayle King, had the exclusive and burrowed under the White House to listen and figure out that they had this meeting. But in all seriousness, really, like, the policy is so just broken. I don't think, Twitter, I think, went too far by banning all political ads, because the great Ryan Graham, the TYT contributor, pointed out that someone like AOC would never have been able to win if it were not for Facebook ads, because she wasn't able to afford television ads like Joe Crowley. So she actually was able to target her demographic and her constituents in New York, potential constituents, to win and do it that way through viral ads. So I don't think banning it is the way to go, but the way that Zuckerberg is doing it is completely insane, and there are no standards, and he's acting like they're some tiny company. We're just this mom and pop shop tech company, when actually you are a broadcaster for a variety of other companies. You're a conduit for media corporations. You control the revenue streams for so many companies and the output of who sees their content. This is the equivalent of, like television as I don't even know, as like a company in itself, say that existed, right? Not having any standards, is like the FCC not existing. So I like what Google did, where basically they will take down things if they're demonstrably false or promote hate speech, but they'll still add political or have political advertisements. But once again, these companies should not be regulating themselves with this policy due to public pressure. The government should have some sort of standards in place.
Yeah, and especially at a time when you are personally benefiting financially, you need a good excuse. Because if you're like, I just like free speech, while you're like shoveling money into your pocket, okay, I'm gonna be even more critical of the defense that you're able to put forward. And in the same way that I've often said, it's like personally offensive and insulting to me that if you're going to, in a different issue with the Ukraine scandal, if you're gonna say that it was just about fighting corruption, and week after week after week go by, and at the end of this like 2-month period, you still can't come up with an instance of corruption you were concerned about that didn't involve Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, then you're telling me that you don't even care enough about your defense to make it plausible. In the same way, Mark Zuckerberg, I should say, his argument for why it's just free speech, man, and people should figure out for themselves hasn't improved after month of scrutiny. And that's partially because he's an asocial robot man, but it's also partially because I don't think he really cares. He thinks that he is beyond reproach or regulation, that the most powerful person in the country wants him to stay unregulated because Trump is benefiting. So why should he care what we think? But I do want to go to a little bit more of the questioning. Here he's asked about some of the particular things that they discussed.
Did he try to lobby you in any way?
No, I mean, I don't think that's. I think some of the stuff that people talk about or think gets discussed in these discussions are not really how that works. I also want to respect that it was a private dinner, and it's a private discussion.
I literally could not care less about your private dinner or anything involving your private life. You have an unprecedented amount of control over the people inside the US and indeed countries all over the world. You're having a secretive dinner that you tried to hide with the president, who's trying to allow you, or trying to have you allow him to continue to lie, to micro-target it. We have this weird thing in the country where the demographic that votes at the highest rates is also the most gullible and easily fooled on Facebook, and you are exploiting those people for profit to allow Donald Trump to lie to remain as president of the United States. So I don't care about your steak sandwich. I really don't.
Yeah.
I want to know if he was lobbying you, and your defense right there was juvenile. It was pathetic.
And suddenly, I love the Chiron, whoever came up with that, and suddenly Zuckerberg cares about privacy. And just to
Oh, sorry, Zuckerberg. Are you worried that I'm going to take all your private data and sell it to someone? That would be an infringement of your rights.
It might be, yeah, exactly. And just talking really about why he feels so emboldened, like the Democrats really. I mean, I'm not going to try to say, oh, it's all both sides are equally bad, but the Democrats really cozied up to the tech industry for a very long time. When we have these this ability of major corporations to buy off our politicians. Big oil, war profiteers, all of those people went after the Republicans more so. But the Democrats kind of had the market cornered with tech companies for a long time at their outset because they were seen as more benevolent actors. And now we're seeing that corporations, corporate power, unregulated, unfettered, it all corrupts in the end, and they're all gonna fall back on the party that is going to actually regulate them the least, which is the Republicans. So Democrats perhaps maybe make a long-term solution by changing our campaign finance system so that you don't have to cozy up to the next corporation that's going to get so big that it's going to actually go to the people that will create profit incentives in a larger sense for them.
Yeah, and we have one more video which we're gonna show in just a minute. But before we get to this video, which is going to be about, again, why is it that you think politicians should be able to explicitly lie and you earn money off of that? Bear in mind this social media post, which I found to be really interesting, from Team Trump. Important, Facebook wants to take important tools away from us for 2020. Which, first of all, no they don't. We want them to, they refuse to. But the only thing we're talking about here is not allowing you to knowingly lie. That's it. And you are talking about important tools.
And they said important twice, like so could have done urgent, then important again. It's
Why is it such an important tool for you that you get to spread things that you know are not true? Why do you have so little respect for your voters that you would try to hoodwink them? I mean, we know the answer, obviously. Now, bearing in mind that that's the concern that the Trump team has, that their ability to lie might be changed. Here is Zuckerberg on their policy.
What I believe is that in a democracy, it's really important that people can see for themselves what politicians are saying so that they can make their own judgments. And I don't think that a private company should be censoring politicians or news.
But a small group of your employees, about 200, wrote a letter saying that they wish that you would reconsider because they said free speech and paid speech are not the same. Do they have a point?
Well, this is clearly a very complex issue, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. At the end of the day, I just think that in a democracy, people should be able to see for themselves what politicians are saying.
Even if the ads are containing false information, I
think that people should be able to judge for themselves the character of politicians.
No, but see, what they're being given on social media is what you're shoving into their face. And you're gonna be shoving it really hard if you're being paid to do that, okay? That's what they have. How are they gonna judge if it's true or not? For many Americans, it's whether they see it on social media or not. And if Facebook says, here's an ad, take a look at it, whether you want us to believe it's true or not, many people seeing that ad will think, well, it had to have been vetted. It's a paid ad. Your stamp of approval is on something that you know is false. That is what's going to influence people's decisions. And this isn't like social media was invented last Tuesday. I wonder what effect it's gonna have on politics. We know what effect it's gonna have on politics. And we know that millions of Americans will believe the blatant lies that Trump and other politicians will be telling them on Facebook. And you'll be just standing back saying, people are smart, they'll figure it out as you earn billions and billions of dollars. It's very convenient for Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, marketplace of ideas, especially when that marketplace is owned by Zuckerberg and the people putting out the ideas have a lot of money to give to Zuckerberg. Also, just lastly, the fact that he included his wife in this, why? It just reeks of corporate PR, BS, and she's just staring at him like, yes, I hear every word that you are saying,
which she was told
human.
To do.
Yes, it's
human.
Human, yes. I am human, yeah, so
yes.
I mean, like, come on, cyborgs, let's get it together, guys.
Exactly.
They're the democracy's at stake while you pretend to care about democracy.
I had hoped by now robots would be cooler, but no. And yeah, in his, well, it's a complicated issue and people have a lot of different opinions. Nobody should ever say that again. Yes, that's true of literally everything, okay?
Right.
We don't need it anymore. But also, lurking in the background of all of this is, I keep saying they're going to profit off of these ads, and that's true, but that's not such a huge amount of money for what Facebook is to necessarily sway them. But that does not mean that they're not being swayed behind the scenes, because if Mark Zuckerberg believes that a progressive president could theoretically break up Facebook, which is something that's being discussed, but a Republican would not, that Trump would protect them from virtually all regulations, let alone actually being fractured into smaller pieces, do you really think that he would not help Donald Trump to win re-election? That for all of his talk about free speech, he couldn't be doing this to protect his financial interests going forward in the future so that he could maintain his status as an incredibly wealthy person? No, for all we know, that's what the dinner was about. That Trump was saying, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, they're gonna break you apart, but I won't, I'll protect you, but only if you let me keep lying. He would have said it in slightly nicer ways, but he's an idiot, maybe not that much nicer. And honestly, the grotesque thing at this point is, I could declare today that I'm running for the Democratic nomination, and I could pay Facebook to run ads where I say that Mark Zuckerberg had a dinner with Donald Trump, and for an hour and a half, they talked about how they were gonna subvert democracy and throw the election for Donald Trump. And according to what Mark Zuckerberg is saying, they would have to let that be run. And millions of Americans could see the ad and believe that that has Facebook's stamp of approval on it. It is a sick, messed up system. And all of their arguments about why it shouldn't be changed are lies. Yes, it's complicated, but they're lying about how it's complicated. What's complicated are their ongoing business interests that could be imperiled if a progressive becomes president. Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.